The following is intended only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion advised.
Previously on
The Fat Ugly Toad Show, starring the Fat Ugly Toad.
I got my picture taken next to the famous Boner Way sign. It says Boner. Boner. Hello. Welcome to the Fat Ugly Toad Show. I'm your host, the Fat Ugly Toad. Today I am going to show you a cheap and easy way to obtain an off-grid solar charging micro game player perfect for nighttime entertainment in almost any electricless location. For my prototype, I have chosen an IQ Toys 240 Games Game Zone portable game console. And this is an inexpensive tool pouch that houses the solar panels. It was $1.50 at Daiso. I have painted the silver faceplate tan and have dubbed the one-of-a-kind unit Desert Rat. I also found a belt pouch for the game unit. I'll show the device, but the video is also about making these cheap Game Boy Micro copies cool and useful again. The new round of the latest bootleg games are better for around the house. They have bigger screens and USB or wall chargers. This project is also the absolute cheapest way to do this. And if you wanted to invest more to make a better system, you absolutely could do so. One thing I think is mandatory is a backlit screen. The other is that the device take AAA batteries. Again, that's for what I show you in this video. Consider it a starting point or a fun experiment or something nice to have when you go camping and you wouldn't mind some relaxing fun before you go to sleep. Or maybe a similar scenario that is dark and you don't have electricity. Maybe silly nonsense, like video gaming after the zombie apocalypse. We all want the world as we know it to end. My Game Zone faceplate was originally silver. I doubt they made other colors. It looked good and I liked it, but I bought it used and it was all scratched up, and words like reset and start had been half rubbed off. It wasn't name brand and would never be worth much, so I didn't see any harm in making it one of a kind and more personal. The manual states right on the front cover, do not use rechargeable batteries. I'm going to anyway. If it explodes, maybe the video will go viral. The inside is just a poster of the game thumbnails. It's full color, and my brain is already concocting YouTube video uses. The back page. The Desert Rat. I really like the form factor of this device. It's an all-in-one portable game console, probably sold in drugstores and the like. The lines on this thing. I find it quite comfortable to hold and play. I would have expected the opposite from the sharp lines. Unfortunately, it has a blasted screw on the gosh darn battery cover. Huge pain in the butt. Also, not optional. The door will fall right off without it. It isn't perfect, but I do think it looks cool. Let's pop some ordinary, non-rechargeable batteries into it and have a quick look. Filming portable handheld gaming devices properly is a nightmare, especially with the ultra no budget equipment I use. So, to spare your eyeballs the strain, here is some reduced-sized footage of the game zone. The main menu music reminds me of being on hold or sitting in a waiting room, or it's this strange elevator jingle, but I like it. I don't know why. It has a good D-pad and the buttons are good, even though the buttons are reversed from a Nintendo point of view. But since it doesn't contain any Nintendo games, it doesn't matter. Most of the games are simplistic enough that you only need one button anyway, but many of them do utilize both buttons. The menus are rather modern for the age of the device, and each of the 4 categories has several pages of games, each with its own thumbnail. To me, a simple numbered list is fine too, but whatever, it looks nice. The games are an eclectic mix. Some are 8-bit and tend to be popular games with different graphics and sprites. And other games have 16-bit graphics and look really good on such a small screen, but are usually very simple games. I find it very entertaining, and I'll show a bit more of it later. I found this solar path light at Dollar Tree. They also had silver ones. Yes, it's a simple LED shining down onto a reflective cone, and yes, it provides almost no light at all and is basically worthless. Or is it? I purchased 3, $1 each. The bottom tube contains a plastic stake for sticking the path light into the sand or dirt or snow. A simple twist releases the cap. An LED, 2 small Phillips head screws, and an orange pull tab. Let's open it up. Inside are some wires, and look at that. A rechargeable AAA battery for $1. Well, you probably get the idea already, but for $3, not just the Desert Rat, but any portable gaming device that requires 3 AAA batteries can be taken along and played off the grid. And now for the parade of eye candy. Most of these devices don't get much love, but I really like them. This is just a secondary market belt pouch I obtained from a thrift store for less than $1. I can stuff a Band-Aid or 2 in here. It was probably meant for a cell phone. It should provide my Desert Rat with some decent protection. I like the belt clip too. I'm guessing it won't easily detach. Sometimes you want that, but not always. But what I really like is that it doesn't have magnetic fasteners. Most cell phone cases do, and so I guess it doesn't matter anymore. But I was always of the opinion that magnets and electronics don't mix. It fits perfectly. Those little loose threads are making me bonkers though. Okay, I think I'll live now. Moving on. I've retrieved 2 batteries. I'm guessing these aren't the greatest quality, but I also recently purchased some of the rechargeable batteries that IKEA sells, and I can test the solar panels on both.
This is an experiment. If you've tried it yourself, please comment. I'd like to hear about your results.
Here is a look at the electronics that go into recharging a AAA battery with sunlight. 2 battery contacts wired to a very tiny circuit board mounted with 1 tiny Phillips head screw. 2 more wires run to the solar panel and are hot glued in place. Some kind of glue anyway. That's probably a good thing. Using my black magic powers, I shall now magically light this LED. Let's grab the 3rd battery. Go! Black magic speed powers. Activate. It turns out you can just open these by hand. Nothing high quality, but they were $1. They make really nice ones if you prefer them, but they just cost more and do the same thing. With just these parts, you could also make a cool custom box or something for them. With just these parts, you could also make a cool custom box or something for them, I suppose. The solar panel charges the battery in sunlight, and in the evening it stops and the battery lights the LED. Simple. So when the light goes on, you remove the battery and play games at night. The next morning, you charge the batteries with the solar panels again. Simple. Okay, here we go. If my desert rat explodes, please call 911 or something. Seems to work just fine. Just to be thorough, we'll have a look under that screw at the circuit board. The LED has some kind of weird looking thick wire. I guess it might be weatherproofing of some kind, or not, but I'd like to think so. Anyone? Maybe a photograph would be better. Here we can more clearly see the wires that run to the solar panels and the battery terminals. Also the LED wrapped in its warm blanket of weatherproofing. Below those is a oh, excuse me. And hanging from the top is what is obviously a The parts are all old school pin through hole, and the back of the circuit board shows the soldering required. A closer look at the bottom of the solar panel. And the top. And the interior of the bottom. The product labels removed easily and left behind no sticker residue. The stakes are easily removable. I wouldn't attempt any sort of vampire fighting with these stakes, but they will definitely do the job they were intended to do. This cheap tool pouch is one way to store these and carry them hither and far. Don't forget to take a screwdriver. I might safety pin the flaps shut. I haven't decided. Anything would work for this. Military surplus, your backpack, an old purse, Tupperware. Be creative. Let's have a look at some bad film footage of yours truly staring at a cell phone screen while fumbling in front of it with the desert rat as the phone records video. Hopefully you can at least tell that as a micro arcade that fits in your pocket, it has a lot of value and it's a lot of fun. The rechargeable batteries are working just fine. The games are appropriate for a screen this small, and the backlight might be something we take for granted now, but it still amazes me. Scrolling through menus sounds like a camera shutter. speaker is in a weird place, and my thumb covers it sometimes. Some of the sound effect choices are goofy as heck. Ideally, the absolute ultimate handheld to me for this particular project would be an original Game Boy Advance that was modified with a backlight or a new backlit screen, 2 solar path lights that use rechargeable AA batteries for the Game Boy Advance. They make those too. A giant box of game cartridges, including the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color games, and some extra rechargeable batteries. For this particular method, that would be the ultimate. It would also be very expensive, but the Desert Rat is pretty great too, in my opinion. I never leave batteries inside it after a play session.
Giant rant, take 1, action.
I have quite a few of these little AAA powered inexpensive game gizmos, and this is a good one. It's comfortable, it has a ton of fun games, and it looks cool as heck. When a screen is this small, the best devices have appropriate games for such a small screen. Bootleg NES games, for example, get placed on tons of these devices, but were meant for a television screen. So the aspect ratio needs to be good enough to not make the graphics blocky or the text look terrible. It's also important to be able to clearly make out tiny bullets being fired at your spaceship, or whatever the game happens to be. The Desert Rat handles all of the above pretty well. A lot of reviewers complain about similar handhelds that use their own games or generic games instead of just using Nintendo games. But if you want to play Nintendo, then go play it. It already exists, and I applaud the Lexi Books and Dream Gears and Versus Maxes and DCats and whoever else is creating something new to enjoy, rather than stealing from Nintendo or driving up the price tag on my gizmo to pay licensing fees for a game we've all already played before anyway. That obviously isn't a popular point of view. Having said that, I am aware that a lot of what these smaller companies do is take existing game programs and replace all the graphics. Personally, I enjoy classic games with different graphics, but I know that that's basically legal bootlegging. Or is it? Is Ms. Pac-Man a bootleg of Pac-Man? I know it's the same company, but I think you get my meaning. Game developers have been building on top of pre-existing structures since the very beginning. Speaking of bootlegging, my opinion is bootleg away. Go nuts. Grab every ROM you can find, especially if it's free for the taking. The big guys make billions every year. Bootlegging doesn't hurt the big guys in the least. And the same is true for Hollywood and the music industry. Do you feel bad about that VHS copy of some television show you liked in the 1980s that you recorded from live TV while you pressed the pause button during the commercials that's collecting dust in a shoebox at the back of your closet? Of course not. It's the exact same thing. I don't let the campaign of fake public service announcements convince me that it's immoral. That's all a giant lie. The exceptions are, of course, the little guys. I don't bootleg from the little guys. I pay for indie games. I pay for indie movies. I tip local or touring bands. I pay for concerts and live events, and I don't bootleg any of the above because that actually does do damage. But the 1% can kiss my backside. I'll be keeping my ROMs, MP3s, VHS, cassettes, and PDFs. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I post every Thursday if you're interested in seeing more of my crazy show and tell.
Poing. Whoa. Where am I? What's happening? What's going on? It looks like the set of a bad TV show. Hi, I'm Ethan.
I'm gonna destroy you, Ethan.
What?
The contestants have arrived. Welcome to the Game Zone.
The Game Zone?
The Game Zone. The bad video game contest where contestants battle it out playing bad video games to the death.
Did he say to the death?
We'll be back after this.